Good afternoon, members and staff. I hereby call our third day first regular session to order. Today is February 28, 2025. The time is 2 o'clock p.m. here in the Mayor's Conference Hall. Welcome, Senators and LB staff. Welcome to our beautiful island of Rota. Before we proceed, may I respectfully ask everyone to please place their cell phones on silent mode. Today's session is being recorded and will be published at a later time. May I ask everyone to stand for a moment of silence. Clerk, please call the roll.
Senator Babauta? Senator Calvo?
Present.
Senator Castro?
Mr. Gap.
Senator Cruz?
Here.
Senator Hofschneider?
Hey.
Senator King Neighbors?
Here.
Senator Magofnia?
Present.
Senator Manglonia?
Present.
Mr. President?
Present.
Mr. President, all 9 members are present.
Thank you, Clerk. With 9 members present, this constitutes a quorum for us to conduct today's order of business. Before we move further, allow me to recognize the supporting staff of the Legislative Bureau. We have Senate Clerk Dolores Bermudez. We got our legal counsel, Mr. Joe Bermudez. We got fiscal analyst, Mr. Dave Demapon. We got legislative assistant, Mr. Devin Macaranas. We got Senate Journal Clerk, Chanel Borja, IT Manager, Dale Camacho, and of course our high-speed Sergeant at Arms, Mr. Benjamin Serlahi. We now move to our next item of our agenda, item B, public comments. Let me go back first. Recognize floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I move to suspend interim rule 3, section 3 to add new items on today's agenda.
Thank you, floor leader. There's a motion to suspend pertinent rules. Second. And it's been seconded. All in favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Moving on. Next item of our agenda, public comments. Pursuant to our Senate rule, anyone wishing to make a public comment, please limit your comments to 5 minutes. You may also submit a written testimony if you will wish to do so. I now open public comments. Please state your full name for the record.
Thank you, Senate President. My name is Ivan Merib Jr. I'm a voter and registered for the 1st Senatorial 7th Precinct, Luta. For today's public comment, I have a letter addressed to your chairman on the Federal Relations and Military Affairs, the Honorable Senator Carl King Neighbors. I would like to read that in public comments. If no objection, Mr. President?
No objection.
Thank you, Mr. President. Dear Chairman King Neighbors, for 16 years since January 3rd, 2009, when former Congressman Gregorio Kili Sablon was the inaugural holder of the NMI delegate to U.S. Congress, the CNMI has had one voice in the United States Congress.
Mr. Mayor, can you go ahead and just submit that to short recess, please? We're back from recess. Any other public comments? Since there's no further public comments, I now close the public comment portion of our agenda. Item C, reading and approval of the journal. I recognize the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I move for the adoption of Senate Journal 24-02, second day, first regular session, dated February 14, 2025.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion to adopt today, Senate Journal 24-02, and it's been seconded. Any discussion? All in favor of that motion, say aye. Those opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Senate Journal 24-02 is hereby adopted. Next item of the agenda, item D, communications from the Governor. Clerk?
Mr. President, we have 5 on our agenda, 24-15 to 19.
Discussions from the members.
Mr. President,
Recognize Senator Hofschneider.
just want to say, Mr. President, members, I wish to also express my appreciation to the beautiful people of Rota for welcoming us to do our meetings here. Focusing on Governor's Communication 2417, the revised budget authority for FY 2025. And just to do an short overview of what transpires. For the purpose of the public's knowledge, of course, we wish to express and clarify what the revised budget did. And the number one thing is the restoration of 80 hours for our employees for the remainder of the fiscal year. And the payment for the 25% for our retirees. The allocation of the health network program, commonly known medical referral, and then the equitable distribution amongst the municipalities, figure-wise, 300,000 for personnel and operations to Mayor of Saipan, RB Komatsu, 300,000 to the second senatorial district and Mayor Edwin Piaudan, and 300,000 to Mayor Aubrey Hokuk for the first senatorial Luta. So I appreciate the support of the members during the session, and as we continue to navigate forward in the midst of some of the news that are coming up about the challenges that we face, I will continue to ask that we need to come together to find a solution to the lagging revenue stream of the CNMI. I also wish to point out, Mr. President and members, of the $23 million that we authorize expenditure, there's a certain portion there, amount of $250,000 to try and settle some of the obligations, what is owed to the gaming commissioners of the CNMI. Of the $23 million, the $250,000 represents about 1.1% of the total allocation that we just did a couple of the last session. And as they continue to navigate forward, pending the judicial process, I'm gonna urge them to continue deliberating and making sure that whatever is due to the CNMI, that they advocate and collect so that the much needed revenue is realized for the legislature to entertain and to further spread it out to serve the people of the CNMI with the budget. I do also want to point out, Mr. President, if I can still elaborate some more for the purpose of the public, the viewing public. I'm going to continue enumerating this out because this is important that we need to know why. Pre-COVID, in the total figures that the industry, the casino industry had realized for the people of the CNMI is a total of $274 million. $274 million, of which about roughly $35 million went to the general government, which is the executive branch, to include $29 million to public school system, $12 million to CHCC,
Senator Schneider.
and $143 million to the retirement fund.
Senator Schneider, you
Yes.
want extra time? Your 3 minutes is up. Do you want
Can I,
extra
yeah,
time?
can I extend just a couple more, Mr. President? Because I think I need to stress to the members and the people that, you know, unless we see any initiative to recover some of the loss that we have, the pre-COVID, and then I think we need to dial back and remind ourselves that this is the reason why some of us up here are supporting the initiative, the casino industry. And there has been talks to amend, but we cannot do that yet until the judicial process is done, and we can revisit that. So I'm going to continue to ask Mr. President and all of us up here to let's come together and really work on trying to generate the revenue much needed in any other format. But I'm just wanted to keep reminding the public that without the casino industry, we will be singing a different tune today about the retirement fund. So let's invite the commissioners to allow the members of the Senate time to ask them questions and let them guide us now. But I am a firm believer that we need to retire the obligations that the law that establishes their compensation, which is created by the legislature, is being treated the same manner of what we just did with the budget. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield back.
Thank you, Senator Schneider. Any other members wishing to make a comment? Okay, if none, I'd also like to just chime in on that discussion on Communication 24-17. I'd like to extend our sincere appreciation to the Governor for a swift signage of Public Law 24-01. Now, when the deliberation of that public law or that House bill was initiated, the intent was to really restore the 80 hours for all government employees. That was the intent. To caveat to that, the 25%. To caveat to that, we got also the health network program, and to include giving the municipalities operational funding. So when we deliberated on that, although some of the members don't agree to the fullest of that House bill, I think the greater good is what drove the passage of that bill, which is restoring our government employees back to 80 hours. The suffering has to stop. And when there was an opportunity for funding to be pushed back to our executive branch employees, like the same goes for our municipalities, that's where the Senate body acted on that and decided to, as much as we don't like the product, the greater good is at stake, which is the people that we represent. So we voted on that budget and we passed it. Mind you that on that same budget, it passed the House, it was introduced by the House, passed through the House, came to the Senate, passed through the Senate, and the Governor signed it the same day. That tells you that there's actually communication amongst the branches of government. That tells you that the importance of our government employees is our forefront. Now I get that there's some issues that are controversial that, you know, we can nitpick, but again, the greater good is at stake. And for us, the Senate body, that was our biggest fight there, is that to ensure that everybody gets their 80 hours. Any other members wishing to make a comment? Recognize Senator Magofnia.
This is Mr. President. So just staying on the same note, I just want to clarify for the public that, you know, although there were statements made alleging that there were secret meetings taking place about the revised budget, I want to assure the public that there were no secret meetings taking place. We had informal meetings with the committee members, right, to include the governor and the House, so that we can all understand what is at stake, and so that we can move forward together. And so I just want to clarify that to the public who are listening, that we did not have any secret meetings and it wasn't just between two members, discussing the revised budget, because there was a lot at stake on the plate for that revised budget. And as the Senate President has mentioned, it was for the greater good of the CNMI. And yes, there were some areas that, we may not necessarily agree to, but we had to look at the big picture and make that hard decision. So I just want to state that for the record. Thank you. I yield.
Thank you, Senator Magofnia. Any other members? Thank you. Moving on. Item E, communications from the judiciary. There's none. Item F, communication from the departments or the heads of department. Their clerk.
We have two, Mr. President, 2403 and 4.
Thank you. Any comments from the members? Recognize floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to comment on department message number 224-03. This is a Secretary of Department of Public Works' response to the Senate President's inquiry regarding the road conditions here in Rota. According to the Secretary, they just had to take the necessary steps to ensure that they properly follow the contract and on how to terminate the agreement they have with the current vendor. And so, according to the Secretary, they got approval from OAG to cease all activities related to the resurfacing of our highway. And as you see, in last session's Senate President's letter to the Secretary of Department of Public Works, his concerns regarding the road conditions, especially the one by San Pedro Park. And so his response to the Senate President is that they are taking the necessary actions to cease operations and hopefully look for a bidder in the future that can address the project needs. And also he had attached a letter to the vendor to remove the I don't know what you would call it, the stump or the existing skid asphalt there at San Pedro. And so that is being addressed. And as soon as they go through the entire process of terminating this contract, they will bid it out for any other vendors to participate in, so that we can address the road repairs that are, that are very much needed for our people. Thank you.
Thank you, floor leader. Any other members wishing to make comment? If none, we're moving on. Item G of the communications, or item G of the agenda, communications from the House. Item G of the agenda, communication from the House. Clerk.
We have two, Mr. President, 2403 and 4 also.
Thank you, Clerk. Any members wishing to make a comment? Moving on. Item H, communications from the Senate. Clerk.
Mr. President, we have 5 on our agenda, including the one that's going to be filed today, 24-31. So that will make 6 on our agenda today, 24-26.
Thank you. Any discussions from the members? Thank you. Moving on. Item I, communications from the CNMI delegate.
We have none.
Thank you, Clerk. Item J, unfinished business.
None, Mr. President.
There's none. Thank you. Item K, pre-filed bills, initiative, local bills, and resolution. Recognize the floor leader. Okay. So allow me to just, before we place it on calendar, what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and introduce the two resolution. One Senate joint resolution, and the other one is a Senate resolution. So, members, formally introducing Senate Resolution 24-02. To honor and commend Honorable Edith De Leon Guerrero for her unyielding service and contribution to the people of the Commonwealth, and for her outstanding achievement as the first Senate President, female Senate President. And it's only fitting that we introduce this, being that it's Women's Month. So, moving on to the other resolution, Senate Joint Resolution number 24-02, to call for a joint session of the legislature to receive the Governor's State of the Commonwealth address. Thank you. Moving on. Recognize floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I move to place Senate Resolution 24-02 on today's resolution calendar.
Second. There's a motion to place Senate Resolution 24-02 on today's calendar for action, and it was seconded. Any discussion?
Ready.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion carries.
The second one. Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I move to place Senate Joint Resolution 24-02 on today's calendar.
Thank you, floor leader. A motion was made and it was seconded to place Senate Joint Resolution 24-02 on today's calendar for action. Any discussions from the members?
Ready.
All in favor of that motion say aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Moving on. Short recess. We rise back from session. Introduction of bill, initiative, local bill, and resolution. Item L of the agenda. I recognize Senator Castro.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to introduce Senate Bill number 24-23, a bill for an act to suspend the administration and implementation of the Commonwealth Zoning Code and the Saipan zoning law and its amendments for a period of 5 years and for other purposes. Introduced by myself and co-sponsored by Senator Corina.
Thank you, Senator Castro. Any discussions from the members? I'd like to just go ahead and make a comment on that, because being that we wrote a letter, my office wrote a letter to the Saipan delegation. I just wanted to thank these two gentlemen, or the two senators, for actually moving forward and trying to get this bill going. One of the issues that we have is that we've been having a lot of complaints from the business community, especially in the island of Saipan, just with the hardship that they're facing with zoning. So being that Senator Castro introduced this bill, this will allow the committee to review and actually look into some of these issues. So I'd just like to thank the two senators for swiftly working on this. Any other comments? Recognize Senator Castro.
Thank you, Mr. President. You know, the zoning law with its initial implementation, it's a good law. However, over the years, there's been challenges in terms of how it's being implemented. Coming back from living in the States, the last thing I wanted to see is some of those, you know, for the CNMI to turn into some of those cities that are starting to take away homes and land ownership from families, and like you said earlier, one of the biggest complaints, even when I was a congressman in Precinct 2, is the process for businesses to get started. And even before getting started, they're slapped with a lot of inquiry fees, clearance fees. Some of the regulations being enforced are not clear. It's in conflict with the actual law itself. So this legislation just, you know, the intent is to put a pause on this process and to really look at it, and is this working for the municipality of Saipan, because it only applies to Saipan. It's unfair, and I'm starting to see a lot of those signs go up threatening landowners for, you know, things like putting a lien on the property and taking it away, and right now is not the time to be doing those. We need to be looking at deregulating so that we can entice business owners and at the same time help our residents while they're struggling. So the bill is not going to also put an end to the full-time employees. There's a safety net built in to safeguard their jobs as well. So as it goes to committee, we can also take some time to really make sure we do the proper public outreach, but this bill is really to let the public know that we hear their cries, the business community and the residents alike. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Castro. I also like to recognize Senator Magofnia. You also got a bill that's coming up that will address that situation. So, please explain. Thank you.
This is Mossy, President. So, just so that there's no confusion, for clarification, the bill that Senator Manny has introduced is for the zoning regulatory as a whole. The bill that I will be introducing shortly, maybe in the next session, is to address the nuisance abatement and blighted property issue. Again, that the bill is to, you know, put a moratorium similarly to what Senator Manny is doing, but this is to address those signs that are coming up on all the different properties, whether it's commercial, residential, or even government for that matter. And it's to really ensure that we are, you know, although we support the enforcement of zoning, you know, and the intent of the actual law, we need to be mindful of the negative impact and consequences that it has on our people. So as Senator Manny had referenced earlier about the lien, which eventually will lead to foreclosure if those liens are not remedied, we want to make sure that we take care of our people and that they don't lose their properties. So that bill will be coming forth sometime soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Magofnia. Moving on to the next item of our agenda, item M, reports of standing committees. Floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I move to adopt Standing Committee Report number 24-02 from the Executive Appointments and Government Investigations, reporting on the executive appointment of Ms. Frances A. Torres to serve as a member of the Civil Service Commission representing the 3rd Senatorial District.
Second.
Thank you, floor leader. There's a motion to adopt Senate Standing Committee Report 24-02, and it was seconded. Any discussion? I recognize Senator Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, members of the Senate, I humbly ask for your support on this Standing Committee Report number 24-02. And this is the executive appointment of Frances A. Torres to serve as a member of the Civil Service Commission representing the 3rd Senatorial District. Mr. President, your Committee on Executive Appointments and Government Investigation, to which was referred the appointment of Ms. Frances A. Torres to serve as a member of the Civil Service Commission representing the 3rd Senatorial District, beg leave to report as follows. After review and consideration of the testimonies provided, your committee recommends the confirmation of Ms. Frances A. Torres' executive appointment to serve as a member of the Civil Service Commission representing the 3rd Senatorial District. Pursuant to Rule 8, Section 5 of the Interim Rules of the Senate, it is the duty and purpose of your committee to report to the Senate for legislative action pertaining to the appointment of Ms. Frances A. Torres to serve as a member of the Civil Service Commission representing the 3rd Senatorial District. Your committee has examined all pertinent documents relating to the executive appointment of Ms. Torres' overall credentials to serve as a member of the Civil Service Commission. In summation of all written and oral testimonies provided to the committee, there are 10 oral testimonies in support of the appointee, of which 6 hard copies of the testimony stated were submitted during the hearing. 6 written testimonies in support of the appointee and no written or oral testimonies in opposition of the appointee. Additionally, your committee stated several recommendations, issues, and concerns to the appointee that are included in this report. Therefore, based on the overall assessment of Ms. Torres' credential, experiences, testimonies, and other relevant issues considered, your committee respectfully recommends the confirmation of Ms. Francis Torres to serve as a member of the Civil Service Commission representing the 3rd Senatorial District. The public hearing was conducted on February 19, 2025 in the Senate Chamber of the Honorable Sus P. Mapnas Memorial Building, Capitol Saipan. And during the hearing, certain recommendation issues and concerns were raised for the appointee to address and look into if confirmed as a member of the Civil Service Commission. And in conclusion, all required documents in conformance with Rule 8, Section 5 of the interim rules of the Senate have been submitted to your committee for review and consideration. And based on the submission of the pertinent documents and testimonies, your committee concludes that the executive appointment of Ms. Francis A. Torres to serve as a member of the Civil Service Commission representing the 3rd Senatorial District in accordance with 1 CMC subsection 6102. Again, I humbly ask the full body to support Standing Committee Report number 24-02. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Cruz. Any other discussion? Recognize floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to add on that miscellaneous communication 24-19, which was received today, is also a letter in support of Ms. Torres. Clerk, does this automatically get added on to the committee report, or is it just the miscellaneous communication in support of Ms. Torres? Okay. And additionally, I just wanted to share that the chairman again reached out while he provided comments during the hearing on Saipan. He also wanted to again just point out his support of Ms. Torres' confirmation in today's session. Thank you.
Thank you, floor leader. Any other comments from the members? Ready? Clerk, call the roll.
Senator Babalsa? Ungan. Senator Calvo?
Yes.
Senator Castro?
Ungan.
Senator Cruz?
Yes.
Senator Hofstadter?
Good.
Senator King-Davis?
Yes.
Senator Maglonia?
Yes.
Senator Maglonia?
Yes.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Mr. President, all 9 members voting yes.
Thank you, Clerk. With 9 members voting yes, Standing Committee Report 24-01 is hereby adopted, confirming Mrs. Francis Torres to serve as a board member of the Civil Service Commission representing the 3rd Senatorial District. Congratulations to Mrs. Torres, if she has any family members here. Moving on, next item of our agenda, item N. There's none. Moving on, item O, resolution calendar. Recognize the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I move for the adoption of Senate Resolution number 24-02 to honor and commend Honorable Edith E. De Leon Guerrero for her unyielding service and contribution to the people of the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands.
Second.
Thank you, floor leader. A motion has been made to adopt Senate Resolution 24-02, and it was seconded. Any discussions by the members? Clerk, call the roll.
Senator Babalsa? Ungan. Senator Calvo?
Yes.
Senator Castro?
Ungan.
Senator Cruz?
Yes.
Senator Hofstadter?
Good.
Senator King-Davis?
Yes.
Senator Maglonia?
Yes.
Senator Maglonia?
Yes.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Mr. President, all 9 members voting yes.
Thank you, Clerk. With 9 members voting yes, Senate Resolution 24-02 is hereby adopted. Floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I move for the adoption of Senate Joint Resolution number 24-02 to call for a joint session of the legislature to receive the Governor's State of the Commonwealth address.
Second.
Thank you, floor leader. There's a motion to adopt Senate Joint Resolution 24-02. It was seconded. Any discussions by the member? Clerk, call the roll.
Senator Babalsa? Senator Calvo?
Yes.
Senator Calvo?
Yes.
Senator Castro?
Ungan.
Senator Cruz?
Yes.
Senator Hofstadter?
Good.
Senator King-Davis?
Yes.
Senator Magofnia?
Yes.
Senator Manglonia?
Yes.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Mr. President, all 9 members voting yes.
Thank you, Clerk. With 9 members voting for yes on Senate Joint Resolution 24-02, I hereby 24-02 is hereby adopted. Next item will be our agenda. Bill calendar. Floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I move to withdraw Senate Bill number 24-09 from today's bill calendar.
Second. There's a motion to withdraw Senate Bill number 24-09, and it was seconded. Any discussions by the members? All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Mr. President?
Those opposed, say nay.
Or what?
Mr. President?
Senator Babauta?
Yes, may I ask the reason for the referral of that bill?
There's some issues that were raised, and it was recommended by the group to refer it back to the committee so we can address those issues.
May I ask what the issues were? Maybe I can answer them?
No, Senator Babauta, we're moving on. Clerk, call the roll.
Senator Babauta? No. Senator Calvo?
Yes.
Senator Castro?
No.
Senator Cruz?
Yes.
Senator Hofschneider? Senator King Neighbors?
Yes.
Senator Magofnia?
Yes.
Senator Manglonia?
Yes.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Mr. President, 7 members voting yes, 2 no.
Thank you, Clerk. With 7 members voting yes to refer Senate Bill 24-09, I hereby refer the bill to the committee. Floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I move for the adoption or the passage of Senate Bill number 24-15 to amend 4 CMC Section 4266 to add a filing number to incorporation filings, to amend 4 CMC Section 4269 to create an internet portal for public search of corporate existence by filing number, and for other purposes.
Second. Thank you, Floor Leader. There's a motion for passage, Senate Bill number 24-15, and it was seconded. Any discussions by the members? Recognize Senator Karina Magofnia.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, if I may, I would like to offer a floor amendment, if that's okay with everyone. It's a simple amendment to, on page 2, line 21, to change 60 days to 90 days. So moved.
Second. There's a motion offered by Senator Magofnia to make some amendments, and it was seconded. This amendment is really to just change 60 days to 90 days. Discussions by the members. Ready? All in favor of that motion, say aye. Those opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Back to the original motion. Senate Bill number 24-15 SD1. Floor Leader. Any discussions by the members? Clerk, call the roll.
Senator Babauta? Yes. Senator Calvo?
Yes.
Senator Castro?
Yes.
Senator Cruz?
Yes.
Senator Hofschneider? Senator King Neighbors?
Yes.
Senator Magofnia?
Yes.
Senator Manglonia?
Yes.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Mr. President, all 9 members voting yes.
Thank you, Clerk. With 9 members voting yes, Senate Bill number 24-15 SD1 hereby passes. Floor Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I move for the passage of Senate Bill number 24-16 to promote trade and investment in economic development and diversification in the Sinamay, to encourage foreign and domestic investments through incentives and streamlined processes, as well as to promote the Sinamay as a trade and investment hub, and for other purposes.
Second. Thank you, Floor Leader. There's a motion for the passage of Senate Bill 24-16, and it was seconded. Any discussions by the member? Recognize Senator Magofnia.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, again, if I may, I would like to offer a motion to amend, simple amendment, to amend page 4, line 10, to change the 60 days to 90 days. So moved.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Magofnia. There's a motion to amend from 60 days to 90 days on Senate Bill 24-16, and it was seconded. All in favor of that motion, say aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Back to the original motion. Clerk, call the roll.
Senator Babalta?
Yes.
Senator Calvo?
Yes.
Senator Castro?
Engano.
Senator Cruz?
Yes.
Senator Hofschneider? Senator King-Neighbor?
Yes.
Senator Magofnia?
Yes.
Senator Manglonia?
Yes.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Mr. President, all 9 members voting yes.
Thank you, Clerk. With 9 members voting yes on Senate Bill 24-16 SD1, I hereby call a passage. Floor Leader.
Lastly, Mr. President, I move for the passage of Senate Bill number 24-17 to globally amend Divisions 1 and 5 of Title IV to rename Commonwealth Free Trade Zone Authority to Commonwealth Economic Incentive Zone Authority and for other purposes.
Thank you, Floor Leader. There's a motion for passage, Senate Bill number 24-17, and it was seconded. Any discussions by the member? Recognize Senator Magofnia.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, before I offer a motion to amend, I just want to explain a little bit the importance of this bill, and I humbly ask for your support in passing it. The reason for renaming this very important law is to remove any potential misunderstanding and misinterpretation of the name Free Trade Zone. As stated in the purpose and findings of this bill, the legislature finds that the term free trade zone can be interpreted in a way that can be confusing to the stakeholders of the businesses the authority is tasked with attracting. So as you may all know, sometimes a free trade zone is associated or synonymous with manufacturing processes and the like. However, if you go back to the intent of this act, it actually references other industries such as financial services, technologies, and so forth. And so for that purpose, I would like to rename the Free Trade Zone Act to Economic Incentive Zone with the intent that it's going to open up more opportunities for investors to consider the CNMI as one of the hubs to open up their businesses. And so with that, I'd like to offer a motion to amend a couple of things. An amendment to the title to change Commonwealth Economic Incentive Zone to Commonwealth Economic Incentive District. Again, that's to differentiate the zone from the district so that there's no confusion from zoning or any other entity that may interpret the zone to be under the zoning jurisdiction. So, and then the other amendment that I would like to offer is to change the economic incentive zone to economic incentive district throughout the bill so that it's consistent and no confusion. So with that, I move with that. I offer that amendment. Thank you.
Second. Thank you, Senator Magofnia. A motion was offered to amend Senate Bill number 24-17 and it was seconded. Any discussions by the members? All in favor of that motion say aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Back to the original motion. Clerk, call the roll.
Senator Babalta?
Yes.
Senator Calvo?
Yes.
Senator Castro?
Engano.
Senator Cruz?
Yes.
Senator Hofschneider? Senator King-Neighbor?
Yes.
Senator Magofnia?
Yes.
Senator Manglonia?
Yes.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Mr. President, all 9 members voting yes.
Thank you, Clerk. With 9 members voting yes, Senate Bill number 24-17 SD1 hereby passes the Senate. Next item on the agenda, petitions, memorial, and miscellaneous communications. Clerk.
Mr. President, we have 4 on our agenda, 2416 to 19.
Discussions from the members. Recognize floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. If I can find it. Right, I had it. Oh, yeah, no. Just to comment on miscellaneous communication 24-18. This is a letter by Rep. Julie to Secretary Yumo, Department of Public Works, also expressing her support for the department's actions taken to resolve the issues that we've had with the road conditions, and that she urges Secretary Yumo to provide for a more effective screening process for future bidders so that we don't go through the same issues that we're going through today. And so that it was a communication from Rep. Julie's office that just came out late last week, and so I just wanted to share with that was also added on today's calendar. Thank you.
Thank you, Floor Leader. I also want to comment on that. Just wanted to commend Rep. Julie for actually coming in and chiming in on this issue in regards to our road conditions here in Rota with some of the contractors being awarded, and I'm glad that we raised that concern about who we award contracts to. Some of the constituents, or some of our constituents, have stressed their concern about actually two specific projects that the same contractor was awarded and did not meet the satisfactory need of that improving the road conditions. So I just like to commend Rep. Julie for coming in on that and chiming in. Recognize Floor Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. And also, I just want to recognize Mr. Merritt, who also submitted comments earlier this morning, but because the item wasn't on the agenda yet, he submitted it. Huh?
Let me make her announce it.
Yeah.
Let me make her announce it.
18.
And then I'll go back to you.
Oh, no, Senate communication. Okay. Sorry. Before I read out Mr. Merib's comment, we'll go ahead and recognize the clerk. The Senate President will recognize the clerk for
Thank
the
you, clerk.
call.
Mr. President, Senate Communication 2431 is back to Miscellaneous Communication 2431.
Thank you, clerk. Recognize Floor Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. In that case, this is in response to Miscellaneous Communication 24-31, again from Mr. Ivan Merib, non-voting delegate, in his response to Senator King Neighbors' letter to the U.S. delegate Kimberlyn King Hines. I just want to read it since Mr. Merib did not get the opportunity to do so. And it starts off with, Dear Chairman King Neighbors, for 16 years since January 3rd, 2009, when former Congressman Gregorio Kilili Sablan was the inaugural holder for the NMI delegate to U.S. Congress, the CNMI has had one voice in the United States Congress. The U.S. Congress is a bicameral legislature having two houses that we have come to know as the lower house, U.S. House of Representatives, and the upper house, the Senate. These houses are occupied by congressional members who represent their constituents from their respective states and territories. The only house that has no members from U.S. territories is the United States Senate. The U.S. Senate historically holds the power to confirm U.S. presidential appointment to high office, and by two-thirds supermajority to pass main motion, approve or reject treaties, and try cases of impeachment brought by the U.S. House of Representatives. On March 7, 2022, in the 117th Congress, former Guam Congressman Michael San Nicolas introduced House Resolution 6941, a bill to provide non-voting delegate to the U.S. Senate to represent American Samoa, the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands, Guam, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands of the United States. The bill's last known status was that it was referred to Committee on Natural Resources and remains there to this day. Mr. Chairman, it is my hope that you or any of the members of the CNMI Senate would consider crafting a resolution requesting our Honorable Congresswoman Kimberlyn King Hines to introduce similar legislation like House Resolution 6941. In hindsight, we are asking our Congresswoman to tread uncharted waters with the goal of having CNMI voice equally represented in both houses in Congress. In closing, I would like to use myself as an example. I am a voter of the 1st Senatorial District, 7th Precinct, Luta. My Congresswoman that represents my district in the CNMI House of Representatives is the Honorable Julie Marie Atlee-Ogo. I can't imagine having one voice in a CNMI bicameral legislature. I know Congresswoman speaks for us in the House of Representatives, but who speaks for us in the Senate? Thank goodness this is not the case today. Sincerely, Ivan Merritt. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Floor Leader, and thank you, Mr. Merritt, for that letter. I now recognize Senator Carl King Neighbors.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I will also like to thank Mr. Merritt for the letter. I do apologize. We do have to follow the policy with regards to public comment. I did, however, want to assure you that this letter will reach the desk of the delegate, and we will deliberate over the next steps. Thank you again.
Thank you, Senator Carl. Next item of our agenda, announcement. Any members? Senator Castro.
Just coming from the family, I just wanted to thank the community for their support and assistance during the passing of my father this past week, Rodrigo Mundo Castro. To the governor's office, to the mayor's office, to the members of the legislature, to the various members of our community that came out and helped our family. And I also wanted to thank you, Senate President and members, for just excusing me in the last meeting, as that was the day after the funeral. But again, from the family in Dunkuna, Nasijus Mosi, to the Diocese of Chalancanoa and the community at large.
Thank you, Senator Castro. Of course, it's a heartfelt tragedy when we lose family members. So I believe this body is behind you in support. So again, just stressing our condolence to you for the passing of your father. I can speak on behalf of this leadership that we stand behind you. Any other members wishing to? Senator or Floor Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to inform that the event at the Roundhouse has been moved to 1 to 5. That is the bird conservation. Right? Yeah, has been moved to 1 to 5 at the Roundhouse tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Floor Leader. Any other members? Okay, moving on. Adjournment. Floor Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I move for adjournment of today's session, subject to your call.
Thank you, Floor Leader. There's a motion to adjourn today's session, and it was seconded. Any discussion? All in favor of that motion, say aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Today's session is hereby adjourned.